Hello, America. Welcome to the Junto Podcast, where we promote the practical applications of critical thinking and bold creativity. I am your host, Edgar Mills. Thanks for joining us. Hello, America. Welcome back to the Junto Podcast. Thank you so much for staying with me. I appreciate each and every one of you. So, today, episode 37, I'm calling it Navigating the Wild. I think that's what I'm calling it. So I want to talk about the land nav course that we just did this past weekend, the 2 team guys, 3-day land navigation course. I love doing I love teaching land navigation. And it's fun, and it's a good way to get out into the woods for a while and things like that. This course, I would say, is equal parts skill building, because you're learning a lot of technical skills, and equal parts soul searching. Yeah. If you don't know what it's like when you strip away the modern distractions, right, and you throw yourself into the forest, and all you have to navigate is a map and compass, no GPS, or if you do know and then you just thrive on that, then this episode is going to resonate. So we're going to talk about the course itself, the structure, some of the personalities that emerged under a little bit of pressure, and then some of the other residual benefits that you get, kind of leadership, personal growth, and things like that. So let's get into it then. The 3-day land navigation course is designed to teach map and compass land navigation. And it's drawn from tried and true military method, right? All the doctrine that I use during that course is derived directly from FM 3-25.26, which is the Army Field Manual, Map Reading and Land Navigation. And it's the Universal Grid System, Military Grid Reference System, UTM. That's the methodology there. That's the system that they use to read the maps in that. And we provide all those things, folks, the maps, compass, protractors, all that. For the 3-day course, we provide all that, and you get to keep that stuff. But how's the course broken down? What's the structure of it? Well, day 1, which is a Friday. Now, look, if you guys are trying to set up a course, and we can schedule anytime. This one just happened to be day 1 was Friday. And day 1 is all classroom. And that is diving into all the technical content, folks. Map data, the UTM system, and all the technical things. How to read a map, how to get a grid, how to get grid azimuth and convert it. All these things. And all that doctrine that I talked about from the military manual, and that's also mixed in with my experience, right? I was in the military for 25 years, and I got news for you, good people. I was not a natural navigator. I was not born with a sense of direction. I was born in the city and lived most of my days in a city environment or suburban or urban environment. So land navigation was new to me when I joined the Army, but I've done a considerable amount of it in my time. And it's fun, and it's a good skill that you should have. Now, I'm not to be a conspiracy theorist, but the GPS might not always work, folks. Just might not always work. Let's see. So, yeah, day 1 is all classroom, and then we do go out in the middle of the day, well, later in the afternoon, and we do terrain walk. We go out and walk in the Black's Bluff Preserve and hands-on terrain association. So, and I think that's very critical that we do that, because there's a lot of good terrain out here to look at. And so it's very easy to go stand out there and translate what's on your map to what's on the earth in front of you. So it's the classroom portion is very intensive, and there's a whole lot of information. But that's the point. I mean, one, there's a lot of information to know about navigating. Yeah, there's just a lot of information to know. And it's all practical information. It's not like just superfluous stuff. Like, it's all very practical. because it all adds to use a cliche, tools in your toolbox, because you might use any number of methods out there while you're moving across the earth. So at any rate, it's very intensive. There's a lot of information, but we have to build a pretty good foundation before we go out to the forest, folks. We have to build a good foundation. Now, ultimately, the foundation is this: if you can plot a point and get an azimuth, that's the bare minimum foundation. Now, as you start walking and moving and dead reckoning versus terrain association versus breaking brush versus walking the roads and all that stuff, all the different things kick in. But you have to be able to plot a grid, and you have to be able to get a grid azimuth and convert it to a magnetic azimuth. And then you have to be able to read your compass. Now, I'm going to say this. This is a little side note. I didn't mean to put this in this episode here, but I have been using Silva Ranger 2.0 compasses, and they're very good. But so far, I have come across 2 compasses where the north-seeking arrow, the magnetic north arrow on the compass, was backwards. Yeah. And it's weird when you discover that, too, because one guy's over there thinking that he's lost in the sauce. I'm like, okay, here's this, here's that, there's the north, and then this guy's standing backwards. and he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Yeah. 2 compasses I've come across from Silva Ranger 2.0 where the magnetic arrow was backwards, or the color, the red portion. So based on those two, that alone, I think I'm going to start using Sunto compasses. That's just a side note. I'd never seen that with any military compass, the green lensatic compasses. I'd never seen that. Anyway, strange, but it happens. I guess that's quality control I guess they got a factory, I don't imagine they're all hand built. All right, dang, back to it. That was a little detour there. So yeah, the class lasts, anywhere from 8 to 10 hours. I mean, we break for lunch, but yeah, we're here for a while. And then the next morning, bright and early, we link up and for the practical exercise out. This one we did in the Talladega National Forest near Piedmont, Alabama. It's a big space. There's lots of rough terrain. And the lanes, point to point, straight line distance, there's 5 points total, and that covers 25 miles. But don't be fooled. That's straight line distance. And some guys, a couple of dudes, they did 35 miles total. And you would think, well, they did a lot of zigzagging through the woods and stuff. One guy ran the roads the whole time, literally the whole time. And he logged in about 35 miles. That's 10 more miles than necessary. But that being said, in the Talladega National Forest, you can't necessarily dead reckon effectively. There is some rough terrain out there, folks. And it's a 24-hour overnighter that you get. I think they launched at about 9:30 Saturday morning. So they had all day to daylight till, 4:30 or 5, whenever it got dark. And then it was the rest of the time night. If you're smart, you try to cover a lot of ground during the day and then take it easy at night. I imagine a couple guys took naps and whatnot. It was pretty chilly, though. But it's a very no frills, just you, the forest, the darkness, and time. That's it. The course is meant for you to be moving the whole time. But again, you got problem solving to do out there on your own. You do what the Lord guides you to do. So that's how it is. It's one day in the classroom and then a 24-hour overnighter walking through the woods trying to find those points. What's unique about this class is, watching, even during the classroom portion, is watching some of the personalities emerge. Now, these guys were all common friends, and they set up a course just for them, and they were common friends. They all, I think, maybe one guy, James, might have been the central guy who knew everyone, but they all knew each other, sort of. So they already had A few of them were good buddies, so they already kind of knew each other's personalities. But there were a couple of guys that I saw straight away that did not know each other's personalities. Yeah. And it was interesting to watch it unfold. Because during that class, I mean, we introduced some new concepts to these folks and some very technical concepts. And just explaining the magnetic pull, the declination scale, and resection and intersection, that kind of stuff. There's a lot of steps involved, a lot of numbers involved. And if you're like me, you don't math very well. And there was some frustration that started to emerge. And then there was some guys doing a lot of talking and other guys trying to do some listening, but wasn't doing well. So it was very interesting. So by the time we get done with all that stuff, now I think I'm a fairly good instructor. However, I probably don't speak to everyone's learning style. Different people have different learning styles. And some guys might get the way I'm explaining things. I try to do it in multiple ways. And I feel maybe like a little bit of a failure if somebody doesn't grasp a concept. But I had my son helping and another young fella helping. And and they were probably laying things out slightly different, but if you launch out of here after the class and you don't grasp all the concepts, well, it may be interesting out in the woods. But learning does happen. Look, even if you think you're lost, you're picking up, even in uncertain, gray areas where you're not 100% sure. As you start to put different pieces of the puzzle together, people start to get things. But here's the interesting piece is that specifically in this instance, but generally, you got dudes out here in their 30s, 40s who haven't sat in like a student role in probably a couple of decades. And they do various, they might be professionals or dads, or they might lead their own companies. They might do a lot of things. But when it comes time to sit in a classroom and do a pop quiz, plotting the points and calculating azimuths and trying to get that resection, you start to see some frustration creep in, and then they kind of go back to when you were in school. It kind of takes them back a little bit, I think. Maybe. So, yeah, you can see, I saw some frustration on some of the guys. And it's good, man. Yeah, it's good. There's nothing wrong with that. I think as grown men, you need to be put in some uncomfortable situations where you got to fight through atypical frustration, right? Like not something that you deal with all the time, and you get a new kind of problem, a new kind of challenge. And it's helpful for you to fight through that. Yeah, it is. And the pressure from the technical content, right? There's a lot of technical. I can't stress that enough. There's a lot of technical content when it comes to map reading. That pressure in a controlled classroom environment, that's sort of it's helpful, right? It's kind of a low stakes way to build up your sort of mental resilience when you fight through these problems that you're not used to dealing with. Because once you leave this classroom and you go out into the darkness of the forest, that's only going to be exacerbated when it's cold and dark and maybe even rainy a little bit, and you're out there lost in the sauce. So it's good to be frustrated in the classroom and then work through it and fight through it and figure out, okay, I think I got it now. I'm ready for the forest. So common threads, right? Leadership and team building are the common threads to all of the 2 Team Guys courses. But Land Nav is unique because it's sort of an exception in that it's flexible. For instance, you can do the course solo, or you can do it in 2-man teams, or even small teams if you so desire. It depends on what your learning objectives are. Yeah. If team building is a learning objective, it can be a group effort. And there's value in that. There is value in that. Because when you're out in the woods, so in that course, I have a little video clip as an icebreaker, and it's the clip from Tropic Thunder where they're kind of walking by the river and they're lost. And Tug Spiegman has the map, but Osiris he wants the map. It's brilliant, and it's so accurate. When you're in a group of dudes and the guy who's supposed to be navigating is lost, but he don't know how to break it to everyone, and you find out you've walked 5 miles out of the way. Yeah, man. There's a lot of teamwork involved if you're gonna navigate unknown space like that, and that's good. This time around, most of the guys went solo, but there were 2 dudes that teamed up because they just happened to have the first. They both had the same first point. Their lanes were different, but their first point was the same. And interestingly enough, those 2 guys did not find a single point. Now, I'm not busting their chops. I'm just saying that prompts some interesting questions, doesn't it? Like, would they have been better off just going solo and just trusting their own instincts and not having someone else to consider? Were they able to adapt to each other's personalities under a little bit of stress, a little bit of cold, and a little bit of darkness? I don't know. Or the other way, right? Did they just find comfort and share being miserable together? So they're like, yeah, let's throw up camp here. Those questions right there, folks. I mean, they're not just relevant to the land nav course. They're relevant to any job, anywhere you work with other humans. You've got questions like that, right? Are you able to adapt to other people's personality under stress? Do you work better by yourself or in a small group or a team? Yeah. Or are you just happy being misery loves company, man? And that's how, and just so you know, in the military, it's very common that when you are with another dude and you go through considerable hardships, just absolute proper misery, that forges bonds, like lifelong bonds right there. So sometimes, I mean, maybe it's not the wrong answer, you know. They didn't find any points, but they may be friends for life. You don't know. So they're relevant, those questions, right? Because collaboration, it can be a strength. I mean, most businesses, you must collaborate. It's just the way it is. Very few things out there are one man show, one man operation. But collaboration can also like exacerbate the mismatches, right? If your leadership isn't on the job and they put up 2 totally opposite personalities, and it just creates turmoil and constant bickering and things like that. And I think you'll see productivity drop, and next thing you know, now the leader has to reevaluate, like, what have I, it looks like you guys are all effed up, and you may be. I mean, you should be able to adapt to a degree, but you know, maybe the leadership should be a little more thoughtful in the way they pair teams up. You know, everybody has strengths and weaknesses, and so, you know, a good place to find that's out in the middle of the woods in the middle of the night. On the flip side of that, though, going solo for a 24-hour overnight challenge, that means you got nobody to rely on but yourself. And for some people, that's perfect. That's paradise. They're happy. No distractions, no compromises, no make nice, you know, just drive on and do it. For other people, that puts you in a very uncomfortable spot. That's you alone with yourself in the forest, wrestling with your own demons or the other various pervasive thoughts that, you know, we get distracted from when we got our little cell phones and our computer and our TV, and we got people around us, and we don't have to think about those deeper things. And when you're out in the middle of the woods for 24 hours, folks, you think about the deeper things. Yeah. It's just you and the trees and that inner voice. Yep. And that can be powerful stuff for self-reflection. Yeah, it really can. But it can also be it can be powerfully crushing too when you've got to deal with yourself. Because some of us, you might not like yourself too much, or you might have a superficial persona that shines when you're around other people, but when you're alone, it's just you and the truth. Then, I didn't mean to go dark on that. Yeah, self-reflection. Just enjoy the time alone. I do imagine some guys do it just to get out of the house, away from the wife and kids for a little bit. Not just you want to be away from your wife and kids. So, is it worth it? Is this 3-day land nav challenge worth it? Why is it worth it? Of course I think it's worth it. Otherwise I wouldn't put it on. Was the course hard? Yeah. I mean, a little bit. Maybe not too hard in terms of terrain. Yeah, there was rough terrain, but there are plenty of forest roads out there to help guide you along. Yeah, one guy, like I said, he ran the roads the whole time. Did a lot of backtracking. 10 additional miles, in fact. But still challenging, though, I think. I think it's challenging. I mean, 35 miles overnight is no easy. It's no breeze, you know what I mean? I know all you ultra runners out there, that's nothing, but yeah. Especially if you're breaking brush, negotiating cross-country terrain. That's a bit of a grind, isn't it? But and also you're out there stuck in your head, right? For hours on end. That can mess with you. When it's the middle of the night, it don't matter if you're a perfectly mentally and emotionally healthy person or not. You might even start seeing things. That happens, folks. It really happens. Especially when the moon's just about so bright. It's and there's shadows dancing around out there, and you hear some coyotes off in the distance, but you see movement. You think you see movement. It starts messing with you, and especially if you're sleepy. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff going on out there in the middle of the night. So yeah, it's a challenge. Never mind implementing the technical skills that we talked about in the class. Like, you have to have that. Yeah. So all those little things add up. And so yes, it is a challenging course, and it's worthy of your time and effort, because it pushes you physically to a little bit, mentally, to a degree, maybe even emotionally. Yeah. And that's where growth happens, out there in the wee hours. And that's why people do these things, right? Little growth to learn. If it's just straight up to get some more knowledge on a thing you don't have knowledge on. But when you do hard things, you're trying to learn about yourself too. At what point do you quit? Is quitting an option at all? As you get older and you start thinking about you learn how to prioritize things. And physical stuff will really that'll do that. That'll help you learn to prioritize. If you're walking out in the woods, breaking brush at 3 a.m. and you're off road and you're cross country in it, and you might be asking yourself, what the hell am I doing here? What have I undertaken? Why am I here? Is this worth it? And a lot of times you'll come to the conclusion, yes. I think when you got a group of friends out there, nobody wants to be the guy that quit, right? You don't want to embarrass yourself in front of your homies who they see you one way and you see yourself a certain way. So there's just so many factors involved, so many factors. Yeah, is it challenging? Yeah. Is it worth it? Yeah, it's worth it. It's worth it to get out there and especially if you've never done anything like that. Yeah, especially if you've never done anything like that. And the goodness, now I'm not saying, I got a lot of friends who do all the ultra running and all that. And that's a whole different kind of thing. You're questioning yourself. And if you guys haven't listened, my friend Nathan does a podcast called Everyday Grit. And you can get a lot of insight on what if, when you're out there in the wild running, and the different the roller coaster, the emotional roller coaster, and all these things. Did I prep enough? Am I is my loadout like? Did you pack the right food or the right snackies, or did you train enough? These people start a training regiment. I don't even know, man. Like months and months out to go do a single race. But different from that, even though this is 25 miles, which compared to a 100-mile run is nothing. You have to find your way. Yeah. And it adds that technical mental challenge that you got to keep that in order while you're out there. So yeah, it's different. It's different. You should be able to do technical things while you're sucking. Yeah. And yeah, never mind the fitness part. All right. So a couple guys sent me some feedback, but I want to share this one. I'm not going to say his name, but I'm going to quote part of his email back to me. And it kind of captures the essence of the course and what he said. But he says this, he says, Edgar, I just want to tell you how much I appreciate what I learned this weekend. Not just about land nav, which you better believe I'm going to keep honing, but also about what I learned about myself. I've always been stubborn and refused to give up to anything, but this was an assault on my psyche, and I overcame more than I ever have. I can't thank you enough for that. Folks, that's the goodness of this type of experience. This course wasn't just about finding points on a map. It's also, in addition, about finding something in yourself. Maybe something new. Maybe something that you once had and you thought you lost it. Or maybe even just some new perspectives that'll help you shape your daily life. Yeah. It's about more than just finding the points. There's so much to be gained if you're open to the experience. If you're open to the experience, there's so much to be gained. So if this type of training interests you, please do check out twoteamguys.com. Everything we do, leadership, development, and team building make up the foundation for all of our courses. We have a 1-day, a 2-day, and a 3-day land navigation course, which can be done solo or in teams. We do a search and rescue mountaineer course in partnership with Nathan Hicks of Higher Ground, also of Everyday Grip podcast. And that's a good one. It's one of the best. I love that. We do a situational awareness course that can either focus on suburban or urban environment. There's a classroom portion and then a practical exercise. We do a long-range evasion course, which is scenario-based, and that's using multiple modes of transportation to get from point A to point B with minimal resources. It's a very gray man sort of thing, and it's an interesting course. And it's a little bit of a suck fest, but it's a very interesting course. And there is some personality and teamwork that emerges in that as well. We do small unit mission, which I'd say is less of a course and more of an experience. However, the focus of that is time-sensitive leadership and teamwork. Yeah, that's it. It's time-sensitive. It's a scenario-based course, and there's sort of a high-stakes objective, but, you have time constraints. You have minimal resources that you have to get the most out of. It's excellent. And then we have surviving captivity. And it is what it sounds like, folks. And it's designed around international travelers, church missionaries, salesmen, anyone who goes to other countries who might not have the big corporate security or the kidnap and ransom insurance or the high-end security team. And you go to maybe a third world country for some conference or trying to make a sale or trying to break into a market that is untapped, yeah, you might find yourself in a situation. And it's very much about preparation to travel and understanding the environment you're going into and the culture you're going into, and then how to move about without raising a bunch of eyebrows, without making yourself a target. And then your contingencies while you're there, communications, etc., and all that. So that's a good one. It's awesome. It's resource intensive, but I would say, if anything, yes, you will learn. The goodness of that is the academic portion. There's a lot to learn there, but the experience is what you're going to remember for the rest of your life. And it's an emotional event. All right. So, yeah, like I said, all these courses, with the exception of land navigation, they're all scenario based. And what this does is it gives you tasks to do, to accomplish in very specific contexts with very definite time and equipment constraints. So, yeah, it's good stuff. It challenges you. It challenges you, your ability to lead, your ability to delegate, your ability to adapt to other personalities under stress, your ability to be a good follower as well as to be a good leader. Yeah, all those things. It's all there. So please do check them out. Feel free to reach out with questions, good people. I'm more than happy to talk details about these courses, about the Two Team Guys catalog. Feel free to reach out. And those are all by, demand, right? If you have you need 4 people minimum to do any course. That's it, 4 people. And we can comfortably hold up to 10 people. It depends on the course, potentially 12, but the happy zone is 6 to 8 folks. Minimum is 4. So having that knowledge, do go to the website and check it out. And other than that, folks, please support us at OspreyShootingSolutions.com. We got the Baby It's Cold Outside match coming up December 20th. And please do go to GiveSendGo.com/help-a-homie fund. That's the effort to literally help homies, help people who need it, who don't have the capacity or the wherewithal to go to a shelter right there or whatever. It'll help us get a meal to somebody. It'll help get somebody's, maybe car worked on. It'll help get a jacket or some clean socks to a homeless guy. Whatever it is, whatever the need is, I see out there that helps me address it in the space of my life. So please consider that. Other than that, folks, and I thank you so much for listening. So just keep on keeping on. Navigate your own path. Find your own azimuth, and then travel it until you feel like you need to adjust, and then keep, get a new azimuth and move out. I'm here to help you guys in any capacity that I can to do that, to navigate your own path. All right, folks, that's what I wanted to talk about. This is a short one, but I think succinct. I appreciate each and every one of you. Take care. I'm sure you'll hear from me before Christmas. I'll hold my Merry Christmases until later. All right, I love you guys. Take care.